Welcome back, everyone, to the second edition of the SERI conference. And welcome back after that short break. We are now going to resume with our program and start our next session. Before we do, a quick reminder to all of our viewers that we have a paper presentation session between 5 to 6 p.m., where selected papers would be published in SERI paper proceedings and also on Taylor and Francis' website. So do stay tuned in for this particular session. In between 5 to 6 p.m., the paper presentation session is going to be held. And we also have two business lounges for our partner, Microsoft. The attendees can click on these rooms on the top of the navigation bar to access the lounges for interacting with Microsoft. Now, we're going to move on and start with our next session, which is a panel discussion once again on the Decade of Security Discipline 2021 to 2030. Agenda for cyber education is what we're going to be elaborating on. And to moderate the session, we have with us Dr. Sriram Birudavolu, who is the CEO, Cybersecurity Center of Excellence at DSCI Hyderabad. And to share with us their views, we have with us Professor Ryan, who is a professor cloud security and pioneer at the University of Queensland, Australia. Dr. Deepak Garg, Dean International Relations and Corporate Outreach, HOD Computer Science and Engineering at Bennett University. And Professor Sugata Sanyal, Professor School of Technology and Computer Science at the Tata Institute of Fundamental Research. So, once again, an esteemed panel to discuss with our viewers their views on the decade of security discipline and the agenda further for cyber education. So, over to you, Dr. Sriram, and since you're the moderator, I will hand it over to you to take the session forward from here. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this edition of SERI, which is Security, Education, Research, and Innovation, brought to you from DSCI NCOE. I am from the Cybersecurity Center of Excellence of DSCI at Hyderabad, and I'm very happy to see such a excellent, stellar panel here. Probably I felt that we cannot get a better panel than this one, where we have, I'll introduce quickly Professor Rayan, Professor in Cloud Security Pioneer and from the University of Queensland, Dr. Deepak Garg, Dean International Relations and Corporate Outreach and Head of Department, Computer Science and Engineering at Bennett University, and Professor Sugata Sanyal, Professor, School of Technology and Computer Science, Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, where he has spent many decades. And myself, Sriram Birudavolu, Cybersecurity Center of Excellence, DSCI Hyderabad. And so we have this very interesting topic called Decade of Security Discipline. What is the agenda for cyber education? So as we know, just to set a little context, why is this important? Because cybersecurity is growing in many dimensions. On one front, technology is racing ahead, and as is very closely tied to digitalization, in which at an individual level, we are moving towards digitalization at an organization level, at a nation level, economy, right? So almost all the value has moved upstream. So if you go to the bank, there is no physical currency there, almost none. There is practically everything is virtual. And we are even talking about currencies. And similarly, whether it is work, entertainment, or education, or even ordering groceries, everything has moved online. So security education, we have a generation that is born digital. Okay, digital born generation who can't even imagine that there was a time when this was there was without mobile phone or without smart TVs and so on, or without tablets and mobile, all these smartphones and all the different things like Google Maps and all that come with it. So how do we try it? And yet we see that there is a huge shortage of talent in every area, whether it is research, whether it is the industry, the government, and all. There is a severe shortage because we are rapidly moving towards components, whether it's cyber-critical systems or of our daily lives. There is smartphones everywhere, and there is a cyber component. So how do we take this in this rapidly racing world? And there are different angles, regulatory angle, there is technology angle, and of course there is a business angle, and there is the theoretical research that is going on. and we need to bolster everything with security. How do we bring in that security by design, privacy by design, and evolve this field? And this needs a solid basis of manpower, talent coming, new fresh talent coming into the field. And how do we enable that? We attract people to learn about security, maths, advanced applications of AI, machine learning, and such. Okay. And in an increasingly distracted world, of course, it's offering many distractions. How do we enable people to come into that? Because this domain offers a lot. It cuts across all horizontal spectrum, even security to security. And so so I'll first start with Professor Rayan and ask him to share his valuable insights with us on how he feels we should tackle.
Yeah, hi. It's a pleasure to speak to everyone. I think this is a very interesting question about the next 10 years, and I guess the challenge is how do we attract people to learn more about these subjects, right? And how do we? I think the key thing is to develop the interest young to make the there's research that shows that in Australia that the young people they decide on their careers at around year 9 in high school. So that is about 14 to 15 years old. They already decided on whether they want to take a technical career or other careers in commerce or business. So we need to make sure that we actually start prior to that 14 or 15-year-old age, and just build that imagination there. I think the second thing is to create the environment. And the environment is not just the universities or the schools. The environment has to be the industry working together with the university to tell the universities what are the jobs that are coming in the next few years. So by the time the people graduate, they are ready for a, a relevant job and not an outdated job. So that's also the second thing. The third thing is to do with the like Dr. Sriram has mentioned, the we get bombarded by a lot of messages. So I think we need to make sure that the messages are tuned towards conveying the message of the possibility. For example, we could have, we have TV shows about, doctors saving lives. We have TV shows about, vets saving animals and so on. But we don't have TV shows where there are cybersecurity professionals saving the world, in in the computer systems and computer environment. We have TV shows about the bad side of hacking and all those things, which is not a good image, right? I mean, if the whole image is created such that people think that this is linked to crime, nobody will want to go and do it. But if we can say, look, these are the guys, these are the people who are the engineers who send the rocket to space. These are the people who have done these startups, who have actually started their learning from these schools and then going into becoming successful entrepreneurs or engineers or cybersecurity professionals. Then that will illuminate the imagination, and hopefully these 3 points I hope has set the scene, and I'll hand it over to the moderator. Thank you.
Certainly, very good points. In fact, Professor Ria, and I would now request Deepak Garg.
Okay, thank you, Professor, for giving time. So, very nicely said by Professor Ryan that means when we try to orient our students for cybersecurity courses, the first thing we have to differentiate that this is not about becoming hackers. So we have to tell them that there is means this is just kind of 5% of the whole cybersecurity that we talk about. So otherwise means there are uh, jobs where they only need to maintain the standards and implement the guidelines as well as the protocols for keeping their systems, their organization, as well as their network secure from outside uh, agencies as well as threats. And I think the second thing that I want to bring about is that now it is not only security of individuals or organizations. Now it is much more important from a national security perspective. So those nations who are going to be uh, well uh, skilled in creating cybersecurity professionals as well as researchers, so they are also going to rise high in terms of overall position in the global power scenario. So that also we need to bring along, because otherwise, as far now our situation is concerned, so sometimes talk to people at NIC who are looking at the overall network. So they are getting kind of thousands of attacks every hour, and people are not aware of that. Means whatever thing they are doing. So they have that dashboard where you can see what is happening all across the country in different networks. So, and third thing is that we are still looking at a cybersecurity from a classical viewpoint, where we think that cybersecurity is related to the traditional computer science, cryptography, and all those courses. But now, more important is that all those new specializations, the technology upgrades, and the futuristic technology, whether it is blockchain or AI or AR, VR, so there are new perspectives that how the security uh, has its implications in those areas. So my own work is specifically in artificial intelligence, how we can stop adversaries from making your data set even more biased, or even means intruding into your basic AI models and then trying to interpret the model differently. And then also working on some of the computer vision things, that how they can make the life hell for you if there is some adversary who comes into your artificial intelligence model. So I think these 3 points I will like to uh, stop here. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your insights. Indeed, cybersecurity has many connotations, and right from it cuts across all verticals, horizontals, and there is scope for a lot of people to join in. Even the legal profession, if you take privacy, for example. Okay. So it's becoming a techno commercial area, techno legal area. So many things are there. There are products being developed in all of this. So even if you were to take sociology and behavioral sciences, user entity behavioral analytics, how are you training the model? What is normal behavior? What is abnormal behavior? The psychology of a hacker, right? All of these things play a big role. And what do people typically do? So, for example, on 5G networks, what was normal, what is not normal. And in this manner, technology shapes human behavior shapes technology also. And that leads to uh, what you call systems which ought to secure the systems, ought to secure everything, the entire ecosystem. So we need to build a more strong and resilient cyber. So there are people with multiple talents required, and people can learn that. Look, even if you are into healthcare also. You could be securing those systems. You could be secure. There are industry specific certains that need to be correct. Okay, so that's the certs and also the technologies that are being developed. Let's say for banking fraud and to protect those cybersecurity systems, protect those systems in banking will be vastly different from another one in, let's say, in manufacturing where there are more IoT based. Okay, so in that manner. So I would like to take the inputs of Professor Sugata Sanyal here.
Good afternoon to everybody. Our coordinator, Professor Garg and Professor Ko, and good afternoon to listeners. Uh, I would like to share a little bit of my background and how I have been connected with security issues and how we can enhance the projection made by our moderator to the next 1 decade to start with. Uh, I, I mean, I'm talking about I part because it is necessary to have the background. I've been working on defense projects, no details, but for Air Force and Army for the out of my 50 years of experience, past 20 years I was connected with Army and Air Force. And those projects needed security, but physical security was more important because these were not connected to the outside world. Afterwards, I touched upon the real security in the network sense, and we went into the internet area. I think around 85 onwards, I think India started the NIC and other organizations. Tata Institute of Fundamental Research also jumped in. And what we found out is that the security per se was in a very nascent state that time, but we needed experts at every stage. And uh, I had been interacting with students from BTech to MTech to the PhD level and our academic colleagues on security issues of various kinds. Internet of Things is one of the main area which is now very prevalent as Professor Ko and Dr. Garg has talked about. And nowadays, all systems which are take it automated cars or take it a plane or take it a medical systems, everything is connected, and uh, fraud anywhere affects everybody. If your medical data is out, a lot of chaos starts happening. If your bank is getting hacked, your account, you lose money. If government data message gets hacked, you lose important data of the national security. So how do we block these? We need, as Sriram rightly connected, rightly pointed out, that we need a solid force, and the force should be such that they should be taught at the university level of how to secure all the systems which are interconnected. And for that reason, we need specified courses, specific industry academic interaction, and projects and internships to give them the flavor of what is actually happening outside. If you learn just the theory of coding in the book, chalk and board, that is not enough. So you need to have people who have the actual experience. And what Sriram told about this NIC dashboard, I am aware of it. I mean, one road gets mad that how one can survive in this world. But we are there and we are connected and we are seeing each other. And it is a welcome initiative to have this decades of security discipline for the next decade to get prepared for what is to come, be it global warming control, be it energy consumption reduction, communication security, medical security, database security. We need forces, no doubt about it. How do we attract them? That is another question. Perhaps Professor Ko and Dr. Garg can say about how they are training their students. Because I am no longer active. I'm Prof 70. I help people, but I am no longer teaching students every day. So you will be able to throw more light, and of course, Dr. Sriram is also heading an institute which is solely dedicated their life to security issues. So
Yes,
I stop here, but with the emphasis that this next one decade is extremely important for industry, for academics, and academics will have to provide student forces to
certainly. Yeah.
uh, get them going towards active usage. So, thank you, Professor, and thanks to you all. I leave the point here and our moderator's guidance.
So, what I will do is I will combine the next question in the interest of time, in the sense what are the current practices and what are the future how can the present practices be used in future to help strengthen cybersecurity? So, in this context, one of the good things that the government and all are doing is AICTE, the Technical Council All India Council of Technical Education, approved complete BTech in cybersecurity. That means institutes can give complete BTech, which is a welcome news, and they are rolling it out. Many institutes are in the process of rolling it out. People need to see that it is very natural. Like there are law enforcement agencies, police people have their way of attracting their force, talent into their force. There are defense people have their way of doing it. Similarly, cyber workforce, it needs to go mainstream. And absolutely, whether it's an area in forensics or it's an area in privacy, this really needs to be taught, and it needs to be made very attractive to talent. So needs to be seen as something which is natural also rather than something which is artificially imposed. For example, the human body. The human body is natural in which you have white blood cells which provide, and it is part and parcel of the system. It is not something that is attached separately. So at every in entire nature it is there. So with this, what I would like to do is give it to Professor Rianko for his comments on what are the current practices and what should we be adopting and how do we use the current practices in the future for
Yeah,
addressing the future, uh, I mean, state of affairs in cybersecurity. We have a big deficit there. We have a $250 billion market, which is growing to be that, and with privacy laws and all coming in 52 countries, including India, there'll be practically a million privacy protections overnight. And where are we going to get the talent to address all of this rather than having organizations simply take talent from one another while we're building up talent pool? Yeah, Professor Rianko.
yeah. Thank you, Dr. Sriram. So I would like to first address that, just give a bit of background, and also thanks to Professor Sugata for asking about my work. Yeah, this is I'm currently leading the Master of Cybersecurity at University of Queensland, and this is the third cybersecurity degree that I have designed and implemented over the years.
Oh,
So over the past 10 years, I've worked across New Zealand and also in Australia, and I had the privilege to be writing the national curriculum for New Zealand before I moved to Australia. So this is an area that is really right deep into my passion. And in writing so I'm just going to go to before I left for Australia and New Zealand when I wrote the national curriculum. One thing that was missing was the connection between the theory and the practical side of things, giving people experience before they hit the workforce. So in that national curriculum, we introduced a practical internship type of component towards the end, and also we also worked on the communication side of things. So you need to be able to speak about your project management. You need to be able to communicate your budget requirements and all these things, on top of the ethics, of course. And so it's not just a technical degree, but the turning point when I had a chance to work on it on the third time, I was able to think about it in a much wider sense. Is that in the cybersecurity problem space, a lot of us are currently treating and viewing the cybersecurity problem in a narrower view than the actual problem is. Now, the actual problem is that we seldom view cybersecurity as crime, for example, number one, right? We never view it as a crime problem when we teach. We view it as a systems problem. We design the systems, and then the systems can overcome. So this is one problem. The second problem that I faced in my advice to doing the national curriculum and in advising the Department of Prime Minister and Cabinet is we never view it as a leadership problem, right? So there's no leadership focus on how do we train the leaders to make good cybersecurity decisions that can become a good policy that can be implemented technically as well, and not just technically but also non-technically, right? And then the third thing is we never view it as the fundamental design of things. So this is like crypto schemes, cryptographic schemes designed to be future proof, or the software engineering aspects. So hence my third degree that I designed with UQ was we intentionally do a T model where we start with an interdisciplinary core, and then we branch into four specializations. So the interdisciplinary core covers the geopolitical, criminal, social science, computer science, mathematics aspects, but in the first half a year. And then we go into the specializations of cyber defense, leadership, criminology, and cryptography. And we are now working on secure software engineering as well. And then all these specializations then end with an internship, a placement with our industry partners. So hopefully we are able to do that. And on the side, we are also working with certification bodies to ensure that the students are able to get certified, just like the medical profession, because Dr. Sriram talked about the white blood cells. We want to make it a real profession where people can aspire to. There was a quote to me from one of the CEOs that I met recently. They said, in the future, we're gonna have all the companies will have, just like the accountants and the lawyers. We're gonna have cybersecurity professionals in every company, right? So that's a good vision that he has, and at the same time, I'm going to talk about. So this is the skills problem. The interdisciplinary approach is much needed. The second focus of my thoughts is the scale problem. So there is the number of, so to give a statistic, every second we are seeing four unique malware being created around the world, right? So every second. So since the time we speak until now, I think there are hundreds of thousands of malware being created, right? So this gives a perspective, like, are we able to train enough to match the scale of the problem? So we need to train people who not just know how to operate the devices or the software, but they need to have the research mindset of creating tools which can match the scale. This is where the likes of Dr. Garg, for example, he talks about the AI models applied to cybersecurity, and all the different automation aspects. So I think we need to focus on that. And also number three, which is my last point, we need to revisit how we teach. So as an academic, I am also embarrassed sometimes when people say, why are there still buffer overflows in software, when this is a buffer overflows are a 30 something year old problem, you know and we have been teaching computer science for so long, but we never really cover steps on preventing buffer overflow in our coding, or so the way we teach also has to be refreshed to make sure that we don't introduce new problems again and again. So that's all from me. Thank you.
Excellent. Excellent. So very good insights, Professor Yanko. I don't know whose phone is ringing. So I don't know why the phone is ringing. Yeah. Okay. Yes. So very good insights. Thank you very much, Professor Yanko. I would like Deepak Garg to offer his views.
Yeah, so very good inputs from Professor Sanyal and Professor Rayanko. So I am also leading here a specialization program on cybersecurity at Bennett University.
1 minute. I do not know whose phone is ringing. Probably could all the others could go on. Yeah. Fine. No problem.
Okay,
Please go on,
so
Professor Deepak Garg.
yeah,
Yeah.
so what we are doing there is that in our means we don't have a separate program on cybersecurity itself for whole 4 years, but it is part of a specialization in computer science engineering because we don't want to lose on the core concepts and the foundations of computer science for any cybersecurity professional. So generally they go for around 40 credits in total in all 4 years, where they learn about the cybersecurity. So where we cover from the foundations of cybersecurity, then going ahead with the cryptography concepts, and then also looking at the penetration testing as well as the other kind of testing techniques. And then, like also Professor talked about, then we cover some of the leadership aspects and the broader aspects where they need to look at the ethical and the moral concepts of it, and also understand the criminology part as well as the cyber defense part. So when I talk to my students who are working in different countries in cybersecurity related companies, so what they tell is that the students are in their curriculum are never taught about the basic things, that the basic buildings block of a cybersecurity infrastructure or the standards that are the minimum required constituents for any system. So they are never taught. So let us say if you are building a IT company which houses 250 people and it is building a product, then what are those things that you must have as part of your cybersecurity toolkit? So means those are the people means who will know that, and companies are looking for those people that who can do this for us. That we have a basic cyber security infrastructure as well as framework in place, so that out of these malwares that Professor Ko has talked about, that at least 95% of them don't penetrate in our system, and then we will have some strategy to deal with the remaining 5% which are kind of ever evolving and coming new. So that is one thing, and another thing is very important. Like another speaker has also talked about is the certifications. So when we were building our curriculum, we saw that means there was a lot of gap between what the certification agencies are doing and what we are teaching, and essentially that gap should not be there. Means the student should be able to get certified with what you are teaching, because that is what the industry requirement is. So we try to cover that gap. Otherwise, what is happening is that many times the students are supposed to spend double the amount because they are also spending on their education, and then they are spending a lot on certifications also. And same thing happens for the institutions in enabling those certifications, and many times the budget constraints come. So that's why we try to bridge that gap, that what those certification agencies are doing. And if the students is not able to clear those certification with what you are teaching, then I mean that whole teaching learning has gone useless for those students. So why we are teaching that if it is not able to get you clear the exam required for entering an industry? So we have done a lot of groundwork on that, and we are able to kind of reach to an extent that now the gap is as low as 10%.
Excellent. Hmm. So, thanks for those valuable insights. I would certainly add to that a few things. That see, in this whole skilling game, one of the components which is the deficiencies is that of simulators and cyber range solutions. So, let's say you're taking a 1 week course, whatever area it could be on cloud security, endpoint security, network security, anything. Then the problem is that the trainer can teach certain things. But then to become a real expert or a professional, he needs to try out hundreds of scenarios on his own. And you cannot try that out on the network. You cannot, for example, float malware on the network. Hence the need for these kinds of tools and solutions which are required. That is one. The other thing is on the theoretical side that models are evolving. For example, as Dr. Rianko mentioned, there are various different areas. Now, I would add to that risk management, which typically been the forte of, say, insurance industry. So those things need to be taught. The risk models need to develop. On the other side, for governments and all that, as more things are moved online, things like cyber diplomacy and all,
Yeah.
so they need to be taught those because there is a lot of that happening now at a level. Even how a nation state should react when it is attacked. Okay, what are the possible responses that it has? Is it simply counterattack? Is it name and shame? And so, as internet is becoming has become a fundamental right, okay, as classified by ITU and UN and all that, I think internet is a fundamental right. So, if that is the case, then at a government level, cyber many aspects of it. So, the tools are one thing to attack, to make people experts. It also lead to certification and all that. The other thing is the theoretical models and all those need to be followed. to turn it over to Professor Sanyal to his views. We are almost out of time, but please go on.
Thank you. Uh, Let me share some thoughts with you about the next 10 years. What are we going to do about the cyber education for making human white cells who will be the force who will fight the war to keep us under close this thing, shell. As you said rightly, that in NIC, if you go to the dashboard, you go mad, seeing that millions of attacks are happening. I am aware of that because when internet started in happening in one of the first attempt was the bitnet attempt in we brought bitnet in 1980s, and some 16 of us, there was a group in TIFR. We used to see that what sort of possible attacks can happen, and we started connecting with the world. So it is extremely important that we build students, we help educate students like Professor Garg and Professor Ko are doing, but give them enough practical exposure so that they actually can apply and keep us safe rather than just learning the theory. But theory is also important because after some point of time, when quantum computing and issues like that will become more viable, then a lot of codes will just fall apart. Even DES and AES codes, which are still being used, I mean, those computers can crack probably in milliseconds. What do we do then? So younger people like Professor Ko and Professor Garg has the onus to learn those things, exchange views. One important thing is IIT Kharagpur has a digital library. Similarly, we should have some library where like-minded people can exchange notes on what are the things which are happening now and what are likely to happen where the research is going on. If I have some papers and white papers and details, I am willing to share it with everybody. For instance, my Google Scholar page is open. All papers are open. They are available. It is just a click away. You just go to internet and you can see my papers. You can read them. You can have your questions. And
Definitely.
this
Yeah.
has been I have been doing it intentionally and keeping the papers open because most of the time, particularly places like India, you can't buy a 40 pounds paper for one paper. It's difficult, or 40 euro, whatever. So, exchanging knowledge, that is one thing I would like our moderator to take up and make a cell which will then distribute the knowledge over the needed people, the teachers all over India and all over world. I mean, I am connected to the world on LinkedIn. So I welcome all of you to connect, share, and make each other's stronger. Because one stick
Certainly.
cannot it can be easily broken, but multiple sticks it is difficult to
Yeah.
break if they are. So I
Sure.
stop
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
because we are
Mhm.
think I'm not sure about the timing, but human white cells, that is what we are going to make them strong and make them viable and make them really. Why should they go for the job? It should be well paying because you will be competing with people job from industry and what MBAs get. Will the cybersecurity people get it? Boss here will. take the matter to the government and seek government support that students who are going to study, they should get enough benefit out of this cybersecurity. Because it is not easy job, it is very difficult job. Am I right, Garg and Professor Ko?
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
So
Hello.
there
Yeah,
should
yeah.
be enough motivation, and a common knowledge pool is important.
Yes.
I offer my whatever little bit I know, it is open, and exchanging and pooling resource is one thing. And if you are looking for future thing for the next 10 years, you
So,
must go for theoretical knowledge as well. So I stop here and I request moderator to
so
take up.
sure. Thank you so much, Professor Sugata Sanyal, on highlighting these important points. And I'm very happy to inform you that DSCI and NCOE and Cybersecurity Center of Excellence are on all these areas, all these fronts are collecting knowledge and collating, I mean, entire list of resources for cybersecurity. And we are even publishing many of our videos which are done. So anyone wants to go in, they can go and see one IoT security or on cloud security also. The library of videos, the papers that we have published, and all the resources there. So that is there. Obviously,
All
there
my academic work is openly available. That is
excellent.
for your information.
Oh, we are very happy to that. There will be a collation of research papers. So this is an exploding area, and we are certainly going to see more and more of it, more at the theoretical level, the fundamentals, as well as the applied practical level, in which different domains are evolving. For example, there are biomedical devices which are coming up. There are tech companies which are coming up. There is automotive manufacturing and automotive related cybersecurity which are there. So, in all of these areas, it will need specialized knowledge of the domain in order to do cybersecurity in that domain. So that would also attract confluence of fields, and it's an interdisciplinary one. People ranging from government to economists to privacy legal professionals to hardcore technologists. There is a scope for everyone. Hence, we should encourage this and then attract them through various means. One of the ways is that they can attend certainly, whether they are students or whether they are professionals, they can attend DSCI and its COE's seminars or all these lectures. So that they'll know that yes, there is so much going on in the industry. One way of connecting with the industry, and we do work with a lot of IEEE professionals, IEEE bodies, with the larger NASCOM, with other industry bodies, and with other national and international organizations to do that. So actually connecting them is
Are they
important.
openly
Yeah.
available? Are they
Yes,
openly
many of them
available?
are openly. Most of them are openly available. Only a few paid workshops. Those also people can attend. And so many are for students. It's open, so anyone can join in. So with that, they can build a very rich interest in the field of cybersecurity, and then they will know about what's going on in the industry and also theoretically. For example, there are research conferences being done here on cryptography and so I would take this as this point that the apex body for cybersecurity is DSCI. You connect all your colleges and students with this. That will be the first, and then we can explore all the other areas, and they'll find it very interesting. Starting with this SERI conference is there, of course, but there is AISS which is coming, and which we would encourage everyone. So thank you very much, and I would open this for questions in any limited time. If anyone has questions, please do post in the chat box. Okay. I don't see, I mean, I see one or two questions. No, no, they are from the previous session. Uh, yeah, there are excellent collaborative opportunities and there are excellent research opportunities as well as industry ones. What do people need at students level? They are looking for an excellent career, an interesting job with good growth and which pays well, and also they are looking for areas that are expanding or the hot emerging areas that are there. All of these can be found here. We need to position, shape it well, and there is an alignment problem. On one side, people are suffering from joblessness or being laid off or something. On the other side, there's a severe. This is a lopsided situation here. And this situation is certainly going to change now because as we market the field of cybersecurity globally, the professionals in the industry, reskilling and upskilling and all that, and to the students who are getting into this field. So all these comments are very valuable. Thank you very much. With this, I guess we can wind up. Anyone has any last comments? Quickly, Professor Rian?
I think
Please.
Professor Sugata has something to say.
Yes, Professor Sugat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I wanted to say is this my background and whereabouts are all available on the internet. You put Sugata Sanyal and on the Google, you will see my LinkedIn connectivity and my homepage of TIFR, which is still alive. Uh, though my recent research is in more on data science and associated fields, but I do work with students and colleagues. So please feel free to connect and pooling the resource which Dr. Sriram is hopefully going to collate and handle. I think we should all connect and help him to make the project a success. It's a very great project. Next 10 years will decide a lot of things. Uh, I wish and hope that we can add value to this idea. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Professor Rian. Thank you, Professor Deepak Garg and Professor Sugat Sanyal. So, with this, I would close this panel discussion. Excellent, enriching, good insights we have. So, people who are listening have there are many takeaways here, and then they can implement. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Give
With
it
this, I'd
back.
hand it back to